This video is brought to you by BTI Institute, a New Jersey leader in certification-based management training.
Again, this is Bob Phillips. I'm the Director of Agile Learning at the PMI New Jersey chapter. And tonight, Alpesh Shaw and I will be hosting a lean coffee. I just did want to set the groundwork that, anybody can participate. That's the whole idea of having a lean coffee. So it's not like only Bob or Alpesh can speak or John can speak. It's really anybody here. You're all welcome. And since I will be talking a little bit and I may be sharing my opinion, as a Federal Reserve employee, I have to say that I representing my own thoughts and comments, and they do not reflect the Federal Reserve Bank of New York or the Board of Governors. So with that said, I'm going to now get a link to the mural. It's funny, all this stuff gets in your way when you're trying to present. Okay, I'm going to put the link into the Zoom chat. Okay, the chapter has a license for mural. So what this allows us to do is actually, share a link. And the nice thing about it is that you don't need to, create a user ID or password. That, pretty much that's what we used to do when we used Trello. So this is a template in Miro, and it basically offers anybody with that link to basically go in and add a topic that you'd like to discuss. And so I guess my question to the group is, was everybody able to click on the link, and were you able to get to the board and actually add a topic? And you can add a topic by taking this sheet and just dragging a page across. And then if you want to actually enter something, you would then double click on it. And then you can start typing.
You may be asked for a code, by the way, Bob.
It's asking for a code?
Yes, it is.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Bob, it's asking for an email, and once you provide the email, a 6-digit code will be given on.
And I got it, so it works.
Sorry about that. I guess they changed the way it works.
But I'm in now.
Okay. And so now basically what you would do is you give the participants like maybe 5-10 minutes to do silent writing. If you're sitting in a room, you would basically have a bunch of Sharpie pens and Post-it notes and just have them spread out, across the room, and have people just start writing their stuff, and then invite them to actually walk up to the board and put them down. And then, so that's pretty much what we're doing, but we're doing it in a virtual manner. If you're having problems actually, getting a Post-it note, just use one of the blank ones, because I see your cursor moving around a little bit. And so, Alpesh, if I'm not, if you're not talking, if you can just monitor the chat to see if there's any questions. And I don't see anybody adding any cards. Is there people having problems?
Sure, Bob.
What's that?
Yeah, I will do that. I think a request is to resend the link. So let me re-put it here.
Oh, man, this is not what I expected, but it is what it is. Let's see.
I put my email address in and hit submit, but I did not get the code yet.
I tried to write, but I couldn't. So I'm not sure. You may have to show us how to write. I selected a card and then nothing came up for me to write.
Okay, thank you for being patient. Okay, I'm going to try putting it into the chat again. Well, that link's much cleaner. It should be to the same board. Is that one working better for everybody? I hope. Pick up the phone today to speak to another major world leader, Russian President Vladimir Putin. Tonight, President Trump says in a call with Vladimir Putin. Okay, I see some more action going on. Ceasefire with Ukraine in May, as Russia was the industry of victory over the German.
I'm sorry, Bob, just jumping here. Somebody has no speaker on and some other thing is happening in the background. Would just like to remind that we are recording this session.
Yeah, Alpesh, I'll find that. We'll turn them off.
Thanks, Alpesh.
Sure.
All right, so far I'm the only one that's entered a card. Is anybody else? Are you guys able to do it now? Oh, I see somebody typing. Did the second link work better?
Actually use the first link, Bob, but the second one probably does. I just haven't already been.
Okay.
And just in case it's in another way, like, no, if you are finding difficulty, feel free to post it on the chat. I will just happy to enter on behalf of you.
Thanks, Alpesh.
The shorter link allowed me to immediately join the mirror board without typing in my email address and then having to type in a 6-digit code. So that's much
good.
more streamlined.
All right, what I did, just in case any of you guys have a Miro license, I used the blue share button instead of this pull down here. So when I was basically setting up the board, I said, oh, it said, send a link. So I said, oh, maybe I'll try that today. But again, to me, doing this stuff is all about experimentation and seeing what works, what doesn't work. Is anybody using Miro or Miro in the office?
Not yet.
Yeah, I have heavily used for my PI planning.
Which one, Miro or Miro or Mural?
Both, like I work for a different client and the client keeps on, they keep the M, but the other letters they keeps on changing.
So then you should be running this board, not me then. It sounds like you got more experience. I do see some topics coming in. So as we're doing that, I don't know. There's not that many of them, so I don't know if we have to go through any kind of voting or ranking process. And it also, as an experience, like somehow the board that I had got something happened to it. There was a whole bunch of stuff over here that ended up getting erased, but it's okay. We could still make best use of what we have here. And so right now, I'm just going to start dragging over the items that have cards completed. And then we can kind of rank them. Now, this person that made this big pink one, I guess they want it to be noticed, so we're going to definitely have to look at that one. Oh man, that's just stuck there, but I guess we can talk about it.
It appears that folks are still entering, and somebody probably had something on the sidebar, the small note.
Okay. All right, well. So it looks like these guys are locked down. So then what I'm just going to do, I am going to improvise.
I just brought it to the board.
Oh, you did? Thanks. Okay, so I don't have to, I was just going to put it on a different piece, on a different post-it.
Yeah. If you want, I can change the color then.
And then the really cool thing about doing meetings like this is now you guys get a chance to experiment with tools too as well. Like some people said they never used any of these kind of tools or not. So just as a sneak peek, what I'm trying to set up for June is to have somebody from the actual company called Mural. There's two companies. There's Miro, M-I-R-O, and there's M-U-R-A-L, Mural. And it's like, it's if you say the word quickly, you think it's one name or the other. But I'm gonna try to bring somebody in to actually talk about that. And because when they did a demo where I work, they basically were really showing the AI capabilities, and it was really pretty cool. I mean, it was because what I've, in the past, I've used these boards, and a lot of times the data gets kind of stuck on these cards, and then like you have to take make a PDF of it, and then you have this file with all these cards on it with all these single pieces of data. But with the AI now, they're able to actually pull the data from the cards and actually create minutes and create documentation. So it's pretty cool the way it's going. But all right, so I guess we have a number of cards and we can keep on adding them as we're going. So I guess we should get started. So what do you think, Alpesh?
Yeah, we can get started. And if the folks needs 1 or 2 minutes more, we can wait. But just in the essence of the time, and no, we can just move on. And Bob, yeah, you mentioned very thing nicely. I also probably seen somewhere, no, when you collect all this information via kind of a sticky notes, but with the AI, no, it allows you to convert into kind of grouping them and generating some summary and try to create some different types of card and everything and analyze it. So it's a wonderful tool.
Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top unless somebody, well, maybe we should go back. This pink card is stuck, so I'm not going to penalize the person that created it. So let's do this. Let's bring this bigger. Oh, Alpesh, you're going to fix it for me? Thank you.
I just wanted to make
Sure.
a comment. I wasn't able to do it via the web version, but when I downloaded the application, I was able to type a question. If anyone's having issues, just wanted to share.
Oh, thank you. So you're using like the PC version or whatever.
I'm on my phone. So sorry.
Oh,
I'm
that's
still
very cool.
traveling back home. Yeah, but I couldn't use the web version. I was able to download the application, and then I was able to post it.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that, because these are things that are going to help other people. All right, so we have this. I'm not going to go crazy here, so we're just going to keep this simple. So basically, there's a question here that says, how valuable is the SAFE certification now? That's very interesting. That's just the whole thing about certifications in general, right? So Alpesh, if it's okay with you, I'm going to take a first pass at that, and we'll pass it around the room. What I'm seeing is there seems to be less emphasis on certifications. Again, this is just my opinion as far as what I'm seeing. And it seems to be more of just these new things called micro certifications. Because like it seems now that everybody's offering these classes, and you get this micro certifications certificate instead of a certification like a SA, like a Safe Agilist or a CSM, certified Scrum Master.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I still think certifications are a way to get you into your foot into the door if you're interviewing. But I'm not sure that companies are actually putting that much weight on them like they used to. Because I worked really hard and I actually got my CTC, my Certified Team Coach credential from Scrum Alliance. And when I got it, it used to be a really big deal, but I'm not sure anymore. So that's, again, that's just my opinion. How about you, Apash?
Yeah, so thanks, Bob. No, I just would like to add here, like as you mentioned in a kind of different terms. So anything can be considered no art and science. And the science part normally comes with certification, meaning it gives you the information about how to do certain things, like in the SAFE, so how to use scaled agile and the various certification. But really, it's your ability or individual ability how they can apply those skills. But there are some organizations, as even you mentioned, that no, uh, if you don't have that holding that credential, and if you are applying for the job, you won't be able to even pass the first gate. So that would be kind of, you need to weigh in. If you are looking something in the perspective where you are looking for a change and the change is not allow you to move on, then think of it. But keep just one thing in mind. Say every certification requires a renewal at every year. And within the same boundary, when if you have a hold an SPC, then the renewal fee every year is about $995. So likewise, other certification has. So keep all those things in the mind. So just not only if you are even evaluating from financial aspects.
That's a really good point about the cost, Alpesh, because like one thing I like about IC Agile is once you get it, you don't have to keep on paying a fee to renew it. And also Craig Larman's large scale Scrum. He's pretty much the same way, but it can get expensive. Like if you have like 15 or 20 certifications, you're going to be paying hundreds of dollars every year to keep them. So what does everybody else think? What have you seen out there as far as are people really asking for certifications now as much as they used to?
So I'm seeing like the market, like if you're looking something in the like a safe area, like no, they clearly mention that we would need that credential. So if you are going for like even the Scrum Master role, they will expect, okay, do you have that safe credential? And even release train engineer role, then they will ask for that RTE credentials. And so they are adding credentials uh, and the market does ask for that, but it's just an entry point. Uh, some experience would require. So I just would like to understand someone who has put like valuable means what value they are looking for. Everything has a value, but how you want to get the benefit out of that value, it may vary.
This is Jay. I do see a lot of job postings, and a lot of them are just like very generic PMP, CSM, and then they have SAFE. But like our organization 5 years ago was making a committed effort to go to SAFE. But then 5 years ago, we decided, you know what? We're not seeing the benefits of going to SAFE. I think a lot of companies feel they want to go to SAFE, but in actuality, in reality, a lot of companies are not going to SAFE. So, it's only valuable if, the majority of the companies, like 80%, are moving to SAFE. But I don't see that. I read a lot of blog postings, and a lot of companies are not moving to SAFE.
So, John, can I ask you a question? Since this is a PMI meeting, have you seen the trend in terms of people getting any trends in terms of people getting their PMPs? If we're talking about the value of certifications?
Well, since Judy called me out, let me answer the question.
Well,
The number of PMP certifications continue to grow. And so I'm actually going to, coincidentally, just a couple of days ago, I read an interesting post on LinkedIn, which I'm going to put right here, that I'm just going to put it right there now. Where someone actually discusses the difference, certification versus experience. So, obviously, experience is important. I mean, knowledge, knowing and not being able to do is not effective. But similarly, is that doing without knowing why you're doing it is that you don't really have any particular basis to grow. And I think if you read that particular post, the person who posted that in LinkedIn, take a look at it when you're at your leisure. That's basically the point of it. So in the certification and experience, or as Alpesh put it, where it's like art or science, you really need both. So you really need both in order to be most effective. Now, again, what makes PMI certifications so good is that it's a certification that one must have experience to get. You don't get PMP unless you have the experience. Again, CSM, not to knock them, I think it's a very good certification also. So don't get me wrong on that. But CSM, you go 2 days and you are a master. Okay, so those are the things. In a particular market like now, and I won't go on too much longer, but in a market like now where folks are looking for work, having that certification does help you stand out. It does help you stand out, and so I'm not going to knock it. Again, however, you're going to have to be able to use that knowledge, and so people are going to try to determine whether you're able to do the work by asking you scenario questions. So you definitely need both. Going to the simple answer that popped into my head when I first read the question about how value is a SAFE certification now, my answer, again, this is just in a kind of facetious way, is that if you're in a safe environment that you're working for, very important. If you're not working in a safe environment, not so important at all. Okay, so I don't know if that addresses your question, Judy, but again, to your original question, where the certifications are growing, they're definitely growing. They're definitely growing.
okay.
The only thing that I will add here, and I'll be very transparent because the information is out there publicly too, is that the number of people pursuing the PMI ACP certification has dipped. Now, I actually, and I'm not doing this a name drop, I actually had a conversation face-to-face with PMI's chairman of the board about that situation. And PMI realizes that they have to kind of clarify, they have to make the case for the PMI ACP certification. One of the challenges that PMI is currently facing now is that, and for those of you who are following the PMP certification, agile knowledge, or at least foundational agile knowledge, is required to get to pass the PMP exam. So there seems to be some overlap, and from the PMI perspective, between the PMP and the ACP. That's something PMI is going to have to work out. But no, otherwise, all the PMI certifications continue to grow worldwide.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome, Judy.
does anybody have any other questions? We can close this topic. And since somehow my board disappeared over here, I'm just going to put it over to the side. These two questions I put in as we were just talking, so maybe we'll get to them at the end, because hopefully you guys are coming to the May Symposium on Monday, right? Hopefully we get to see your faces. And it's not too late to sign up, I don't think. So that's something to think about. All right. So next one, tools for
Demetrius has a
Agile.
question, Bob. He has his hand up.
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, Bob. Hey, John.
Yes.
Hey, Demetrius.
How you guys doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on the certifications. And like Bob, I've got the slew of them. And, I'm working on the enterprise. I see Agile expert.
Oh, nice.
One that you
That's a
got to
good
go
one.
with 8 months of of a cohort that I'm stuck with for 8 months. And if the cohort's here, you guys are great. uh, um,
You
so,
answered it very well.
but
I had Lisa Atkins when I did mine, so I was very lucky.
I've got Michael Spade, who's
Oh, Michael's great.
yeah, he's
really
fantastic. He
Yeah.
is awesome. He is awesome. He really knows his stuff. So again, I have a lot of these certifications, and it gets to a point. Yeah, you're getting them to. Hopefully, you'll get a opportunity. Somebody sees the certification and gives you an opportunity for an interview. But at some point, I think, in terms of just a lover of learning, you may be getting to a point where it's like, I just want to get it because I want to feel like I can accomplish it. Now, for example, the PMP was probably one of the hardest exams that I took besides my Java certification exam many, many years ago. Both 4 hours, both using different parts of my brain. But I don't regret it. I think that the exams are good because they test you on areas where you may not necessarily use on your day-to-day job, but you get exposed to it so that you just know it for your own information. Of course, every company that you go to, you'll have its own way of doing project management, and they may not necessarily follow the PMBOK exactly. And the same thing with SAFe. So I just wanted to put that out there that, it becomes a personal goal versus just trying to get it to get you a job. So just wanted to add that from personal experience.
No, you put really wonderful, nice. Like, no, when the companies are using nowadays AI tools and no, even to scan your resume before you even go in, then missing that even credential
Mhm.
will not open the door for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, but how you like to way you clearly articulate. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and lots of luck on that cohort. It's really amazing. Do
Yeah.
you still
Thank
meet
you.
in California for a week in the middle?
Okay, Bob, we'll see.
Have you gotten that far? But okay.
No, but I'm sure it's coming.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else on that, I was thinking we could just talk about this one if it's okay with the group. Tools for agile management across multiple stakeholders that are not familiar with this concept in a big org that is not open to agile. Wow. So you have a big org that doesn't want agile, but you're doing agile, right? That's what it sounds like. Does the person that wrote this card want to give us any more background or? No? Okay. Alpesh, do you have any ideas on this one?
Yeah, so it's on similar ground, probably what I'm understanding, as you mentioned, though, the organization using a tool and expecting individuals to do something related in the agile form, like, okay, create an API, create an this, create a story. But reality, their way of working is not that way. So they are just using the tool just to show that, okay, you asked me to do it, I am doing for it. A checkbox kind of.
Can I add here? I wrote this. So we want to jump into agile, but clearly the organization is not ready. Are there any existing tools, say Project, Microsoft Project, Excel, or any other tools that are available that organization is familiar in waterfall PMO space, but we can use it for agile? Any suggestions?
It, I, I get nervous whenever you try to use a tool to solve a problem, because it's really sometimes the tool itself creates the problem. Because again, what you want to have happen is you want your organization to actually figure out what they want to do with Agile, come up with how they want to approach it, come up with what framework. Since they're brand new, I'd highly recommend not, doing anything big like Safe yet, because all Safe does is scale. And if you're scaling dysfunction, it's just going to be a lot more dysfunction. So you probably want to start small. You pick maybe one organization or one, maybe, that might have like 3 or 4 teams, enough people to make 3 or 4 teams, and then figure out what they want to do. And then come up with, okay, so let's say you want to do Scrum. All right. Now, if we want to do Scrum, a good tool might be Jira, because that seems to be what's going on across the industry. That's probably got the biggest mindset. But I would highly recommend not using a tool to actually lead the way. I would come up, you might want to bring in an agile coach, somebody that could actually help, talk your organization through it, conduct some training, because a lot of times people don't really understand, like they think this agile buzzword is going to be like the magical thing, but they need to understand that it's actually going to create a lot more work for the business, because now the business all of a sudden is going to be very heavily involved daily with development, rather than in the old, like you mentioned, waterfall, where they do a lot of upfront work and then wait till the end to actually do the testing, where in agile they're involved throughout the whole thing. So it's really, to me, would be starting with education, getting everybody on the same page and coming up with, like, what are you expecting? What do you want? Are you looking for higher quality? Are you looking for really fast delivery? Those are the kinds of things that, your leadership would have to really see what they're trying to get out of agile. So Alpesh, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, so just to add here, like, no, if you are trying to use a tool, then you may end up in managing a tool and doing less work, and eventually the folks will start running away from the tool. So when you mention even Jira, I've seen in like
Yeah.
people use Jira, they start using it, but then they become fine, like, oh, no, it's too much to maintain, kind of how to maintain. And then just on one day, they update the Jira. So real benefit is not realizing. You might see story remain in one stage for quite some time, and maybe after delivery, they will start updating. So real value is not realized. So don't just type to any tool. There are plenty available in the market. There are competitors. But if you like to use a tool, bring somebody who can help you how you can use a tool, and start working from that.
And
So that
start
would
small.
definitely be beneficiary. Otherwise, no, individual estimate. No, they will start using and they find, okay, nobody is maintaining update, and just play the simple rule, garbage in, garbage out. So if nobody is doing anything, then no, that's the output you will get.
Yeah, thank you. It's the same in waterfall as well, right? So thank you.
Sure.
I'll give you an example. Like, I was given a similar challenge at my prior employer. So what they had was this mainframe shop that had all these teams that were based on the components, like back end, middleware, front end, right? So basically, and they had all these engineering managers, and they had this huge organization, and they were basically doing waterfall. You do the back end work, and then you do the middleware, then you do the front end, and all that communication and all this kind of stuff. And they said, well, let's try Agile. So what I did is I kind of talked them into creating a feature team where we took a couple of people out of each of those layers and put them on one team together. And then basically, so that was our experiment. We said, well, we're not going to get in your way, but we just want this team of everybody from each layer, and to allow them to actually work. And what they found was that all the communication, all the scheduling and all that overhead just went away because it was all within the team. And so what ended up happening is that team ended up really flying. I mean, going so fast that the other teams were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" So then what happened is they said, "Let's launch another team." And so I don't know if you have time to do that, but it's always great if you could get, you know, people that want to do it and actually experiment and to kind of show like, if we do this right, it can be really successful, rather than just going in and saying the whole organization, okay, you're all going to be agile. And we all kind of know where that lands when things like that happen. And does anybody in the, also on the call have any thoughts about this?
Or even if you have some experience related to using different type of tools in a different environment, that will also be helpful.
Have you guys, anybody else experienced anything like this? Okay, can we move on to the next topic then?
I'm sorry, Bob. I was raising my hand, trying to be respectful.
Oh, I'm sharing my screen, so I don't get
Yeah, it's my
visibility.
Oh,
bad. No, I should
sorry.
have told you. Like, yeah,
Oh,
feel free
okay.
to speak.
I'm
It's
sorry.
an open forum.
I'll just jump in next time. I won't raise the hand so you guys can see.
Appreciate you being nice.
I thought I may have misunderstood the question because it sounded like a scenario where the organization wasn't familiar with agile, but the person wants to implement it. And I've been a coach where I've gone onto a site where it was agile, but it was more specifically safe. They did not want safe. Safe was considered like a bad word. And so
So,
I mean,
not safe in safe.
they really got upset when you try to implement it because it had been tried before. So what we had to do was not call it safe. And we had the big room planning. We did all of the things that you would normally do to get it, get the organization to use it. But we just didn't call it safe. So sometimes I guess you got to understand if the client really is hung up on the framework or the technique, or is it really trying to help them solve the issue at hand? And it's really a conversation, and sometimes you just got to use different techniques in order to try to help them out because they just may not see it. So just wanted to add that piece.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, at times, no client would like to be safe without using safe.
How did they do that?
It's a secret.
I guess the one parting word I would say is if you're just starting out, don't think you're going to be able to scale it. So don't even think about a scaling framework until you actually get some teams that are successful and really understand what you're trying to do. And then you look at the cool things like safe or less or any other scaling methodologies, but don't start just scaling because it's too much. There's too many moving parts. But anyway, that's just Bob's opinion. All right. So the next question is, what AI tools are you currently using in project management? Now, I know you guys are probably going to be great with that. So I'm going to open up to the group to kind of share what you guys are using. We'll do this one right here. Any thoughts?
I'm sure we all are using some AI tool. Just come up. If you say no AI, then no, it will be trouble in your job.
All right. Well, I guess I'll jump in.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thanks. Go.
I was going to share that we use Copilot, Claude. Those are
Okay.
the two. It's not quite it's recommended to use, but it's not. So I'm not sure how the question is, but that's how we use it. So as a kind of a supplement, but not actively. And I've also logged into the PMIs to the what is it? I forgot the PMI the AI tool that's available.
It's called
To
Infinity.
ask.
It's called PMI Infinity.
Infinity, thank you. So Infinity to kind of to try to use it, and I attended last week's session where the presenter talked about like the new functionality that's coming. So that's another tool to kind of consider. And so that's my experience.
Thank you for sharing that. Where I worked, everybody's being asked to use AI, and there's focus on the development area. They're trying to figure out where it could be used to leverage and make things go quicker. And we've been very successful. Again, we're not doing it at a really large scale. We're using Claude, Sonnet, and the different models. And basically, programmers are able to actually do PowerShell scripts, scripts that would take them hours to do. They're doing them, in less than an hour. And they're able to add a lot more functionality than they thought they could. So there's definitely a lot of potential. I was asked to help a team that had like 4 or 5 retrospectives that the prior Scrum Master never did anything with. So I took all the data out of those meetings, and I put it into AI. I said, okay, create me some affinity groups. And it did, and it didn't really know what I was asking. So I had to kind of, ask it a lot of questions, but I was actually able to get it to zero in instead of me combing through those 5 different retrospectives and trying to figure out, where everything was. But there's definitely a lot of ways where we can make ourselves more efficient. Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
It's these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol, making may occur.
Okay, I guess we can move on. Any hands you see in Alpesh, or we're good?
Yeah, we are good. Like, AI is using everywhere the different things and a lot of way. Ultimate thinking is, okay, AI will replace us.
Okay, the next one we have here is how do you handle Jira versus Jira DevOps? And both options are available. And I promise I didn't write this question. When I joined my current job, I had been using Jira for 15 years, and I was a Jira fan. And all of a sudden they said, no, Bob, you now have to use this thing called Azure DevOps. And the acronym is ADO. And I kicked and screamed because I actually hated it. But once I got over that, I actually realized how powerful that tool was. And don't quote me on this, but if I had a choice, I would go. Right now, we moved to Jira because we were kind of forced to. But if I had a choice, I'd probably go back to ADO because it just felt like it had a lot more flexibility and capabilities. And plus, it really depends on what your teams are working in. Like if they're working in a .NET environment, because again, it's Microsoft. It definitely has a great pipeline capability where you can actually commit the code to your different environments and move it through, and you can create quite a bit of automation with it. So it's very powerful, but you have to get used to it. The way it's set up and the way it's designed and stuff like that. Anybody else have any experience they want to share on that?
Our business unit was exactly the same. 10 years ago, we started off using Scrum, using ADO because we are a big .NET shop in our business unit. However, corporate and all the other business units was using Jira. So 5 years ago, we had to make that same, Bob, painful switch going from ADO, which was great because of all the pipelines. It's all heavily tied into all the .NET pipelines, but we did have to follow the corporate lead, and our business unit was the last business unit to join Jira, which we've been on now for the last 5 years.
Yeah, so I guess that's just like you said, Jay. I think my differentiator would be if I was in a .NET shop, I don't think I would consider ADO. But if I was, I would probably really fight to get that. But again, that's my opinion about it. But what's everybody else think?
So just don't look at Jira as kind of a plain system of record if you like to do it independent of any kind of other environment. Whereas ADO, it would be very helpful if you have a .NET environment. Otherwise, it may happen not to be helpful. So it allows you to do certain things like CI/CD work. So everything depends upon what you are looking. So they are not exactly the same. If you just would like to look, they may have the similar functionality. But if you are in the typical shop of like Microsoft, then ADO will be very, very helpful.
Just
And if
follow up
anybody,
question. Can I ask a follow-up question?
sure.
Sorry. So how about engaging business user on ADO? How easy or difficult is it in your experience to approve user stories, for example?
I'm thinking about that. You could do it because I had a product owner that really liked ADO and was very comfortable in it actually, and they had people actually from the outside creating user stories and items in ADO. So I don't know. I don't know if I could say one's easier than the other. They're just different, and it's really, to me, it's all about when you're in a position and you're trying to help people use the tools, how you present the tool to them and how you can either make it easy for them or you can make it hard for them. Because I had somebody that used to love writing those ADO queries, and the person was brilliant. I was like, how did you do that? But then I thought, man, that's a lot of work. So then I just came up with other ways to group the data and make it available for people to work with. So it's really just how you position it and how you want to share the information. I would say. I don't know, Alpesh, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely, Bob. And I try to use at times, some different example or metaphor. So here I will say, take a metaphor of a screwdriver. You can use it to fix something, or you can use to damage something. Like any tool, they have their limitation, they have their benefits, and how it's being conveyed to you and how you'll be using, that's what is going to drive. So if you have explain if you have an expert who can help you to do that part, it will be very easy for you. But if you don't have it, if you learn everything, then you have to weigh in who can help and how you like to use it.
Thank you.
All right,
Sure.
we have a couple more minutes. We kind of talked about AI agents, so I'm just going to kind of leave that there. So a little bit, not really agents, but we talked about AI. How many companies are following true Agile Scrum projects versus hybrid projects? That's an interesting thought. Alpesh, did you want to take a pass at that one?
Sure. So how many companies are following true Agile? See, many companies learn Agile and Scrum. It's not a new environment. As we know that it started like more than 20 years ago. So companies started using the following, but they were not able to really get the benefit out of it. So with that, they come up with their own environment and they customize. And with that, I have seen many organizations, they do agile, but behind the screen, They try to do a high kind of a hybrid project. They have some of the things, taken from the project management, and they try to come up with their own version of what they call agile. So hybrid here really stands for taking some practice from here, some practice from there, and come up with something of your own. And it would be very difficult to call it's an agile, but if my management wants me to say agile, I will say agile is that kind. But behind the scene, they mix up things in the way that it is kind of a hybrid, but it's a combination of what they are using. It's not like doing one waterfall, one kind of agile way, kind of. So using the practices from both the area and which work best for them.
Yeah, like you're saying, Alpesh, like I always find that for some reason companies always want to put their own spin on things. Like I'm not going to mention the employer, but over my career, I've worked for a lot of companies, but one company wanted to create their own scaling framework.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? But they did. So, like, why not just use something that's been proven, like less, but no, they had to be their own. But anyway, that's I think why this whole hybrid thing comes on, where a company wants to put their own little touch on it. But again, that's just my experience.
Yeah, similar ground, Bob, which I work for a company and I will allow others to add in that. They typically follow the sprinting and Scrum framework. But when the time release comes, they would need go, no go decision, release management plan, and everything. So it's agile and not agile, kind of. So whatever things works for the best, them, they just bring it. And if the market says if you're not agile, you will be out, then okay, I'm agile, signed off. But I would definitely like to hear others' opinion because this is kind of a topic that we have seen many flavors.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say just to add on to that, yeah, it's very rare that you get in an environment that is purely one or the other. Um, you can there they exist, of course, everybody knows, but either if they're using, let's say, a risk registry. We don't have a risk registry in Agile, but that if it's useful, you know, to help them keep track of risk, then okay, we use it. Or environments where they say they're Scrum, but they don't do all the ceremonies. It's like, oh, we got too many meetings. No, we can't do this. We need to less meetings. So you start cutting and fitting it to fit that environment so that everybody's happy. Um, and you just adjust. But this hybrid is very very common. Um, at least that's been my experience in my career as well.
Thanks for sharing that, Demetrius. What I've noticed though is when people say they don't want to go to the daily scrum, the first thing I think of is that's like the most important meeting. So what's wrong? There's something wrong because it to me, if a person doesn't want to go to a meeting, it means it's not valuable. All right. So then you have to kind of peel that back and say, why isn't this meeting valuable? What's going on? And then you start finding out really what's happening and why people are complaining about going to these meetings and stuff. Uh, and as Jeff Sutherland has said, like if you don't do the 5 Scrum events, you're not doing Scrum. So and then people kind of like you said, Demetrius, they kind of stretch it. Oh, the daily Scrum is supposed to be daily. Oh no, let's just do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, so it's just interesting how, and so I guess that's how another way to get to that hybrid, idea. Where you're doing things in a hybrid manner. So, but all
And
right, we have
just
go
one
ahead.
adding here, in one of my client place, just to say that we are giving opportunity to people to grow and they work, try their own experiment. Under the title, they turn off all these ceremonies on every Friday. Did not understood the meaning of that, how we are doing, but okay, we will not be having any meetings.
Yeah, we've experimented with that too. We have
So
no meeting Fridays.
How do
So,
you? It's a question about that. I just want to pull that thread just a little bit, Alpesh and Bob.
Sure.
So the client doesn't want to have all these meetings, only want to meet on Friday. But when I hear that, I'm like, okay, and I've even said this, it's like, okay, well, we're missing an opportunity for the feedback loops. We could get address more issues quicker if we follow some of these ceremonies, and they both have, the ceremonies have their specific purposes. Now, you're not just meeting just to be meeting, but how do you handle that? Because you're missing opportunities for, you know, addressing issues early and getting constant feedback.
So this answer is simple. Like the client was not really realizing the benefit of even having any like daily stand-up ceremonies. It's a feedback. It was a client of they started doing something was framework as
I'm going to the
mentioned.
city on Wednesday to meet the estate crew.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that way they just wanted to have something and something new wanted to implement. They say, let's do an experiment and turn these particular things off on Friday, giving everybody as an improvement day. So what I have suggested, okay, we have to support what they are doing it since it's an experiment. So let's do Monday as no, not just an yesterday if you're talking about. Look it from that perspective.
Wants to drag Starbucks and beat the numbers and raise the forecast. There was a
hey, John, can you help us with that? Thank you.
So it is the simplest thing what we were discussing just now, no? Doing save in save without save.
All right, so we're at the top of the hour. We did cover some topics, and thank you everybody for participating.